welcome back to Moko Plays Satisfactory on update 7. Still on the experimental server here. So last episode we made some really good progress. We unlocked the steel, the basic steel recipes, and set up a simple, straightforward kind of 3-foundry steel micro factory, I guess, producing just enough basics of steel pipes and steel beams to get us by in the short term. That enabled us to go ahead and unlock Mark III belts, so we are no longer limited by the 120 items per minute throughput of the Mark II belts, and instead we can go all the way up to 270 items per minute. And we threw together this temporary quick fix modular frame build to give us a stockpile to be able to work towards the next few milestones, including the one that we've got selected there for blueprints. Off stream, I went back to the coal power station that we'd set up and duplicated that design. One of the ways that I built that originally was just kind of one side of the build because of the belt limit that we mentioned there being running on Mark II belts. So that's now ready to hook up, and we'll get that fed in there with Mark III belts to generate twice as much power from pretty much the same sort of size of footprint of factory. The other thing that I've done is just let the steel and modular frame builds run for a while so that we've got enough stockpile of those to go on and do what we need to do next. So the plan for today really is to go ahead and unlock that blueprints tier. We need to pay a visit down to the power plant and upscale that, so to connect all of the new tier belts. Upscale power plant. And then really it's just going to be a case of to get in deep with blueprints and start to play with those. Those are new for this update, so I've only spent a very small amount of time with them in another save. So really we're going to be experimenting together there and learning how to make best use of blueprints. So let's do I have anything in my inventory that I don't really need to free up a bit of space? Let's have a look here. I can probably stand to get rid of some of that concrete. Everything else is probably stuff that we at least want on us. Let's grab a few modular frames and then we can go ahead and unlock that next milestone. Okay, so while we're here, what have we got left for tiers 3 and 4? We've got vehicles, which we'll mess with at some point, but not urgently. Improved melee combat. Well, we're on passive mode here, so the Xenobasher doesn't help much, but the extra slots will be nice, so I think we'll go for that next, especially given we've already got all of this stuff automated to be able to feed into it. Advanced steel we'll definitely want to get to for some benefits there, including Mark II miners would be useful. And hypertubes we'll definitely want to mess with. So it's all stuff that we do want, but right now I think this is the next one to be thinking about. So yeah, as I mentioned off stream, I came down to the coal power plant that we'd set up and basically added another side to the design. So that's going to be there ready now that the design's not limited by the throughput of the Mark II belts. If we can upgrade those belts to Mark IIIs, then we can get a lot more power from that. I think the power plants we added here are generating something like 600 megawatts, so we'll be able to double that to take us over 1,000, and that should help us when we're scaling out our starter factories with what we do with blueprints. I really am thinking blueprints will help us to do more with the starter iron factory that we've got over there, so to add a ton more smelters and constructors to take advantage of the iron nodes we've got, and go ahead and like fully automate some things like the reinforced iron plate builds, the rotors build, and add some modular frames in there as well. So big expansion there that blueprints are going to help us with. And this will give us the power to do it by bringing this stuff online. So got nearly 400 steel beams. Hopefully that is enough for us to upgrade all the belt work. So last time you saw this design, we just had the right side here with the 8 generators, each taking in 15 coal, so that's a full 120 Mark II belt. Adding the extra 8 down here will be possible once we upgrade this main belt to a Mark III. One thing we do need is enough coal to feed that. So we've got a couple of options. We've got our pure coal node up here, which is extracting 120 per minute. There's more coal nodes over there, which we've started to make use of for steel. So we could either just tap one of those nodes and then merge the belts in down the line here. But one thing that I am thinking it makes more sense to do, given we've got a pure node here, is that we can just actually overclock this miner to have it producing more than the base 120 per minute, since we unlocked overclocking a couple of episodes ago and didn't really do anything with it. So if we come in here and add a couple of the power shards that we've crafted from the slugs in the world, that'll take us all the way up to 240 parts per minute. That comes at the expense of requiring more power. So the base coal generator requires 5 megawatts of power. Not generator, miner. The base miner requires 5 megawatts of power. And if we overclock, that takes us up now to 12.5. This is completely worthwhile in this case because we're actually using this to generate power in the first place. So, you know, that's a small cost to get a lot of extra power without having to tap an entire new coal node, run new belts and that sort of thing. And it leaves the extra coal nodes that we've got there free, so that when we do need more power than even what we're adding here, we've got three nodes over there that are sitting ready and prime for use. If we just upgrade all of these, this will handle up to 270 per minute, and we're going to be using 240 of that to feed these plants. So I placed all the designs, I added my conveyor lifts, I just haven't done the extra connecting belt work. These all have power running to each other, but they're not connected to the main grid as yet, so we'll need to do that now as well. But this here is really why I do like this design for coal plants, is that you can run your main line right down the middle. Keep that away from the clutter of the water pipes, which are around this side of the build. And then all we're doing is like using soft clipping to go through the bounding box of the coal plant. That makes for this quite nice look as well. So that's 8 more coal generators here. And 3 more water extractors, which I added down at the bottom here. And again, keeping the symmetry of the design. It's another reason I like this build, is you can end up just with this left side and right side of the build, and you can just keep expanding down, and it kind of works quite nicely. These I'm hoping that I did remember to power. Yeah, I'm seeing green lights, I'm seeing water in pipes, so in theory everything should be working as expected. We've got a red light over here, no power because it doesn't seem to have any water. Ah! That's because I didn't, oops. So this is coming up from the first kind of 1.5 of the water extractors down below. And this is coming up from the other 1.5 and feeding water all the way down here. And hopefully into everything. That looks good. That's still waiting for coal to filter its way down because we're using a manifold. But hopefully we should see more of these lights go green. There we are. That one's producing, that one's producing. I think we're all good here. I think I did everything. Still not getting any water into this one. Oh, because I didn't connect that there either. Now, hopefully, there we go, water and coal, so that one's producing. Yeah, we're feeding coal down here, okay. I think this power plant is good. I think it just needs a little time to fire up. And before too long, we'll be getting the full benefit of that. Alright, let's go and play with blueprints then. So, the blueprint designer is a specific building that we've just unlocked at that tier, and what that will let us do is it'll give us a 4x4 grid to work on and be able to make small compartmentalized designs that we can then build in one fell swoop later on. So it's going to be super useful for taking out some of the tedium and the manual legwork of setting up a line of smelters with splitters and mergers, or a line of smelters running into a line of constructors, or this sort of thing. So we're kind of going from everything being an individual item of a build to making ourselves like kind of a toolbox of snappable parts, like it's IKEA furniture or something that we can build out. The blueprint designer takes a fair bit of space, so I'm going to set up a platform over here for blueprinting. So let's get some platform down here. That's all the concrete we've got. Let me grab some more then, because we are probably going to need some for actually doing some of the builds as well. That was nearly a death. So yeah, the real next goal and the real thing that I want to use these blueprints for is for refactoring our iron production. There's much more iron there that we're not making use of, and we're starting to get into the level of complexity of parts there that that we haven't automated just yet, like the modular frames that we built a temporary solution for last episode. I really want to automate more of the basics of iron, so that we can then expand this starting iron factory up over with more floors, with more complexity at each floor. Right now the entire ground floor of that is taken up by smelters and constructors, but really we could take all of that space and probably a little bit more, to be honest, and to have the entire thing be smelters, because we've got 4 pure nodes there that we can be running off of. And blueprints are going to help us to do that without having to place every part by hand, which will be pretty nice. Alright, so let's get the blueprint designer down. Which way around do we want to do this? I think if we do it this way and have the control panel towards us, and then we'll probably want to mostly make our builds to run left to right, so inputs on the left, outputs on the right, and then we'll just always know that we're consistent in mapping things out here. The blueprint designer itself, this is it. It doesn't take any power or anything. However, one thing that definitely is helpful that I've seen is to build some gantries around it to give some verticality to be able to look down on the designs. In Satisfactory, it's much easier to be able to place things like smelters and mergers with having a little bit of a bird's eye view of it. So I think that's the first thing that I'm going to do here is let's grab our awesome shop. And we can spend some tickets on some architecture parts, like these walkways. Ladders we've got already. Let's grab these and make some use of these. close can we get to it? So because the blueprint designer is a building, you can build on it anywhere up to like this line here. This is the distinction between inside a blueprint and just normal factory. So I think if we add some of these here, maybe go up that high. And this should hopefully align quite nicely to the grid of the outside, like the outside of the blueprint designer. And no, that's not going to align nicely, is it? That's going to clip. Is there a way of aligning that better? That would run okay on a corner. Let's just do it at ground level first so that we can kind of see how neatly we're going to align. Not that neatly is the answer. Maybe want to be another half square over here. Like that. I think that'll give us the best balance between being too close on one side and being too far away on the other. That's probably about as near as we're gonna get it. We could maybe go another half square this way. I'm sure that will be fine. So let's build that up over. Alright, cool. Got our ramp up there, but we're going to be up and down to the control panel here quite a lot. So let's actually just add a crossing in there, and then we can pop a ladder down here. And one here. For easy access up top to be able to look down on this thing. Alright, so Blueprint Designer. In here will be where we'll name and set directories and stuff for our blueprints. So this is kind of like a folder structure organization kind of side of the thing. In here we get all of the resources it takes to build the design back when we clear the designer. So it does cost the resource of whatever the thing is. So if I was to add storage, for example, it's going to cost me the 10 plates and 10 rods to build that. And then when we come in here and say that we want to clear, it'll drop those all back in here, which I assume is like in case I don't have enough inventory space while if I've built a bunch of stuff and then gone and topped up from storage and that sort of thing. I assume that's why it drops them back in here. We get this grid system to work with, which is quite nice because it gives us the 4 meter by 4 meter bigger squares, kind of the same as the foundations, and then within that we get tick marks at every, I guess these are at every meter if these are 4 by 4. And this is the size of the thing, so we've got a 4 by 4 grid to work with, as in 4 of these squares. And the heights go up to the top of the frame there, which I think is 4 walls high. So it's like a cube. Oh, must be 8 walls high. Okay. Cool. So yeah, this is the boundaries of what we can build within. Anything we build within here will be blueprintable and can be built quickly and easily again. The one thing that I am aware of from some experimentation is that if you go to place something down that kind of falls over the boundaries of the blueprint designer, you get this warning here. However, I did fall foul of trying to add some signs to outside of walls on the edge. What's actually happening is the wall here is considered part of within the boundaries of the blueprint designer, but the sign isn't, which was a minor frustration, because I did want to have walls around the outside of a build and signs labelling where inputs and power and stuff were due to go, but it looks like we'll have to do some amount of replicating those by hand. So, let's get started with the most basic of basics then. I'm thinking, for the most part, I'm thinking concrete will be what we use throughout our world and for roads and that sort of thing, and then within factories we can go for the fix-it foundations, and we can do some nice stuff with design here if we build ourselves a nice basic 4x4 grid. Then we can do something with colour, just to give ourselves a little bit of variety in the base floor of our Lego set, if you will. So if we add here, and then if we come into the colour customizer, which I don't think we've really played with at all in this series, and do some painting of some of these tiles. And we get this pretty nice looking design, I think. Slightly lighter, and then some slightly darker. That doesn't even look perceptible. Yeah, maybe we want to go even lighter. There we go. I think that's pretty good as a default, and that'll just help break up some of the tedium of bigger designs. So let's save that. Let's call it Fix It Foundation 4x4x1. And if we come into edit here, we can do some categories and subcategories. So let's have a category for floors. Using the factory cart. Carts run on floors, right? Apply that. And then within here we can do subcategory, which I think you need to have at least one. And we'll just go basic floors. Add the blueprint here. Apply those changes, and then we can, oops, out of this, and we can choose icon. Like this. And we can go with the color and just say do grey for basics and save that. And then we can clear out this designer and get all our parts back. So then, when we're out and building in the world, if we come into blueprints, go to basic floors, we get this to place down, and with some difficulty, snap it to wherever we are building. Oh, that's really finicky. There we go. There we go. So even quicker and easier to build basic floors than Zoopin is. Now, the only thing that I am aware of that's really a caveat of building in this way is there's no undo button. So if you've got a complex build with hundreds of parts and you put it down in the wrong place, you do have to delete all of those in that same way that I just did. Alright, so that's basic flooring done. Now, something that's kind of a bit of an open question with me is when doing, let's say we want a basic smelter array. We want to push down a ton of smelters there to take ore into ingots, which is something we're going to do all over the world, and we'll probably have hundreds of smelters by the time we're too much further into the game. Should we have those tied to floors in the blueprint, or does it make more sense to have a floors blueprint, place that, and then a smelters blueprint and place that down on top? And I think the second option is the right way to go, because there, for example, we built our 1 meter flooring foundation grid like that. In some other places we may want to have another blueprint which has the 2 meter or the 4 meter foundation grids in there, and maybe give ourselves some options over time for complexities like running belts underfloor or running power underfloor or something like that. So I think the starting point is going to be to just build floors, blueprint those floors, and then to place machines down directly on here, and we'll just have the machine's blueprint snapped on top of the floor blueprint, rather than having the floor be an intrinsic part of the design. Hopefully that won't cause us many issues, although who knows. Right, let's try doing some of this from up here then. So left side are always going to be our inputs, right side are always going to be our outputs, and I assume it builds them relative to where the blueprint controller thing is. You can rotate blueprints down as you place them, by the way, but given how finicky that 4x4 floor was to place, I do want to try and make sure we're not being overly complex, or being consistent where possible, I guess is maybe a better way to describe it. So for a basic smelter design then, the way that we've built smelters up until now in this factory is we've kind of done this, and done this, and then just done one smelter per run. So we would have resources coming into this side here and just running down the line, and then the smelters would all output from the front. Which is all well and good, but when we're thinking about working with compact modular designs within the bounding box that we've got to work with here, I think maybe we do want to think about running, well, making more use of that space, right? One thing we don't have enough room for here would be splitter into smelter into merger, and then a second row of splitter into smelter into merger. I don't think that it really gives us enough space for that. So I'm thinking the way to go with this, and what I've seen mostly people doing with blueprints, is running the kind of central design like this instead, where you have one belt in and then have a smelter here and a smelter here and just collect the outputs at the outside of the room. I think that's going to work okay, so we can do that for a first run and see how we get on. It is going to be a little tight because we need to fit a merger on the other side of this, so we probably can't afford to put this much space in between our splitters and smelters, so it's probably going to be more like this. Then if we have the merger down here, I knew I was going to fall off there. With the merger down here with the output running that way, we can just about fit that in. So long as this is enough space, which it is, then that should be good, and then we can just replicate this design on this side here. And then run a bunch of these down this way. Oh, that merger's not actually in line. If we take a little bit of space around the outside, and then I think we can run 5 of these. 3, 4, 5. And still have a tiny bit of space at this side. Same thing from here. 3, 5. Those are backwards, aren't they? Yep. Just run things down here with the input coming from this side. Why would you not connect? Oh, really? That really seems like it should be okay. Did I definitely put these smelters the right way around? Yes, that's an output. Why would this be too close when our first one isn't? That doesn't make much sense to me. Like, this belt here was okay. Oh, also that's not connecting. So we've still got bugs on experimental. Alright, I'm going to pause the recording for a second and just quit out to main menu and come back. Bear with me. Yep, that seems to now be working okay. Alright, well, at least it's a game bug and not a design bug in terms of what we're trying to build here. Okay, so then we want to be running our main line on the highest capacity belt we've got. Now this will do 270 resources per minute down the main line here. These smelters, we're not going to set a recipe, but I think both smelter recipes are 30 in, 30 out. Yeah, so with a 270 belt we're overbuilt by one smelter in here. As in we can only afford to feed 9 of the 10 that we've got at full capacity, so what will happen is this will run at half capacity and so will this one. I'm still gonna build it this way, and that's purely because, one, it keeps the design like nice and symmetrical and consistent, and 2, it means that in the future, when we get to our next set of belt upgrades, we can just load the design here into the blueprint designer, change the main line of inputs to a Mark IV belt, and then then we're making full use of the space. Like, space is the thing that's at a premium here when working with blueprints more than anything else is. If these are doing 30 each, then yeah, that'll be too much from 5 of them for a Mark II belt, so we're going to have to run Mark IIIs down the side here as well. Alright, so that's where our output's going to come. Power is the... Did I connect all of those? Yes, I did, yeah. Power is the next thing to consider. So we could run with the same sort of design that we have been running with, power poles in the middle here. But I think we can do something a little different here while we're playing around with the design. I don't think I unlocked the wall power stuff yet. No, I did. Okay, cool. So if we have walls and ceilings as part of this design, then we can use things like those wall power connectors, which are pretty cool. Save a little bit of space inside here. Not that we're really going to be doing too much running around inside these designs, but still nice to use the tools that we've got as well. So how do I get this to snap to a corner? Like that? Yeah, looks like it. No, it's got partially overlapping blueprint designer on it. Let's try that again. There we go. That seems like what I want. These things are finicky sometimes. There we go. Okay, this side's our input side, so we're going to need to leave space for that. Would you please connect? And then outputs, one here and one here, and we'll come back and deal with those in a second. Power. Nope. Okay. What I'm thinking is we can just do the old fix-it foundation on top. to see in there. And the reason why I wanted to do that is that we do have this tiny bit of clipping of the smelters coming through the design. They're slightly higher than 2 walls high, I guess. So I'm thinking if we build it like this with one foundation on top here to kind of act as a roof of the design, and then we would just place down our blueprint of floor on top of this, that should get rid of any clipping at all. It also means we can place the design. When this is all enclosed, we can just run along the top here and set the recipes from the outside, which is going to be beneficial rather than having to get in amongst all of the clutter inside the design. So if this is our input, we're going to want a double wall power thingy here. And then everything else we will do with the wall power actually sitting on the underside of the roof. So this is the center. Just run a power here to here. And just have that branching out to feed the various machines. One more. Which one is it? That one. There we go. So those should all be powered. Now I just need a space to feed in our inputs and outputs. Okay. Grab the awesome shop. Let's grab conveyor walls. Let's grab door walls as well so that we can get in and out when we do need to, without having to dismantle any of the build. So, walls. Let's stick a single conveyor wall in the middle here, which it's not going to want to snap to anything. Oh, there we go. Now, half walls aren't a thing. The neatest solution that I've found for this sort of thing is to just kind of do this and have the this panel and this panel overlapping slightly. Oh, that's slightly too much, actually. Like that. Oh, also, that wall's outside of the blueprint, which isn't good. Okay, that should do it, hopefully, and then when we go to do this... Boy, this would be easier in daylight. That, hopefully? Nope. I did not expect this to be as challenging as it is. Very hard to tell. Yeah, this does work. There we go. Oh my god. There we go. Nice and quote unquote easy. So we're going to have power coming in from there. Going to have a belt feeding into this. And then we'll do the same thing over on this side with 2 conveyor walls, which at least are the right size. And should just snap in place easily like that. And like that. And then let's just see if this is cooperating in terms of wanting to let us place a clipped wall to cover up that unused window. It's not going to want to play nice, is it? Aha. Hey, that works quite nicely. Nope. Oh, it doesn't. Because nothing ever does. There we go. Right, we got power, we got an input, we got an output. Not got too much glitchy clipping going on. Let's just get rid of one of these. I will pop a side wall. Just in case we ever do need to get in there. Or if not, it looks a little bit more, you know, natural, realistic. Even though no one would ever want to come in or out of here. Alright, cool. I'm happy with that. That's our design. Did I put the roof on everywhere that should have a roof? Yes. So yeah, clipping through slightly here, but we'll place this down, run around, do all the recipes, and then add another layer of floor on top, and we should be good. Alright, let's save that then. So, this is a 10x smelter with 270 throughput. And smelters, no recipe, Mark III, belts for 270 throughput. Let's give it a smelter icon. I think is that one? Yeah. Let's add a new category. Let's call it construction. So category 1 is going to be, what do we want, like kind of basic inputs like ore and coal and stuff. And yeah, let's go with the basic blue for basic blueprints. That works alright. Cool, let's save that. Look at that. Alright, that took longer than I expected. So I'm thinking that's probably a good time to call this episode a day. What we'll do is jump back in next episode and start to play with those basic smelters down, see what kind of layout we get with that, and that'll help maybe influence how we want to do our next stage of blueprinting, which will be constructors, I guess. So yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next episode of Satisfactory.